take care of you.
And we're live. Welcome. And my phone's going in my pocket.
What did happen?
My phone is ringing in my pocket. That's just completely distracted me. I have my special co-host.
Your special co-host.
She's very special.
Super special. My name is Anne.
Yes, I think everyone knows that.
Yes.
And we have a very special guest. In the Swedish is Lars Ohly. Ohly or Lars Ohly.
Yeah, right.
Yes. Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
So, with all our guests, we like to pretend that we meet you in an elevator, and you've got 16 seconds to give us an elevator pitch on who you are.
It is actually our lift.
It's our lift, yes.
Yes,
So you're
16th
going
floor.
up to the 16th
Yes.
floor. Yeah.
Yes,
Nowhere
yes.
else.
No.
Hello, I'm Lars. I'm from Sweden. I've been a politician for many years, but before that I was working at the railroads, so I still count myself as a railroader. And now I'm working with social questions, social politics, and helping people.
Cool.
Superb.
You did well.
You did very well. And you even included your history as well, because I was just going to go straight into the whole railroad.
I am so curious. I mean, really, first of all, it's so cool that you're here. You're Swedish, I am Swedish, and you're half Swedish.
And you've been very excited since you've met Lars.
I'm like, oh my God, we're having Lasse on board, Lars Ohly. Yeah. So I'm so happy.
So let's go into it. How did you get involved with the trains? Were you always, as a child, interested in trains?
No, not at all.
Oh,
not
okay,
at all.
right.
I have friends working at the railroads who are, nerds, really.
Yeah.
I'm not, I've never been. But I was unemployed, 19 years old, and looking for something to do.
Mm.
So it's more of a coincidence. I ended up at railroads, and I really wanted to be out on the ground, working outside. But they said, well, we don't have any jobs there, but do you want to be a guard on trains? Well, yeah, can do that. So I was there for 18 years.
18 years?
Yeah.
But where at the Swedish railroads?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
working on the trains.
Where
Yeah,
else
but
would
I
it
don't know.
be?
Maybe you were
Some
abroad.
foreign country or...
Maybe
No,
going to-
right. I was from Stockholm to Malmö, from Stockholm
Oh.
to Sundsvall, from Stockholm to Gothenburg, all around the country,
Yeah.
working on the trains and looking for people's tickets and asking them where they were going and showing them where they went to change trains and everything like that.
So you must have... Do you have any interesting stories? Any instances?
I have some secret stories about famous people. I won't tell you about them.
Well, you don't need to name them, but you could...
Can you just tell me what happened?
Yeah, what happened?
Well, I can't tell you.
Yeah, but then, look...
I can tell you and...
Yeah, but
no,
hold
I
on. How many famous Swedish people are there? So it's probably...
Well, forget the famous people. Let me
Yeah.
tell you about
Okay.
a night train I was working with. And when we came to Stockholm, it was from Malmö to Stockholm. When we came to Stockholm, I had I was going to wake everybody up. So I was knocking on the door saying, Stockholm next, and well, all around the train. And after that, I was trying to call to see that no one was still on the train sleeping.
Yeah.
Because they had to get off, So I opened the doors to every coupe and said, hello. No, empty. And when I saw a couple, and they were doing things they should do at home. And I said, hello,
Ladies in Sweden.
you must get off, because otherwise you will end up in the car hall.
Yeah.
And they said, we are going to the car hall.
No.
Wow. They didn't care.
They didn't care.
Is that censored?
Well, we
No, that's
I
fine,
think it's
that's
fine. Yeah, I
fine.
think it's fine. No, it's fine. But
So-
that was a fun story.
That was a fun story. So I'm just curious. So how did you progress from being, a train guard to politics? How did that happen?
Well, it's something you do at the same time. I was working, especially mostly with the union. I was working as a union worker alongside being a guard on trains.
Yeah.
And also was interested in politics, of course, and member of the party, the Left Party in Sweden. So after a while, I was elected to the party board, and that was 1987. Then I had worked in railroads for 11 years. So I continued working with the railroads for another 7 years, and still was elected to the local municipality as a member of parliament for Stockholm. And in 1994, I was elected the party secretary. So then I was a full-time worker in politics for the first time.
Wow.
That's a great. I mean, it's a great achievement. Just also the first thing there to be a part of the board, and then it's amazing.
Well, that's the ordinary career in politics, if you want to see it like that.
Yeah.
I don't see it really like a career. It's more like, where can I do the best?
Yeah.
And if people think that you're good enough to be in the party board, I'm not the one saying no, I'm not.
No.
No, exactly.
I'll try it, and if I can do a good job, I'll continue.
And do you think, with your experience on the trains, having to deal with people helped you in your political career as well?
Interesting. I've never seen it like that, really, because I think that you are more or less social as a being. And I'm quite social, I would say. And of course, I developed that maybe as a guard on trains, meeting people every day, talking to people, solving problems all the time, and really enjoying it. I really like the job. So maybe it's both a kind of identity and also something you can learn. So and of course that is important in politics. But the most important of all, do you know what that is in politics? Knowing names, remembering people.
Yeah, that's why I would never be successful in politics.
People come from to you and say, "Hello, do you remember when we met 5 years ago?" And you say, "No idea."
No idea. No, but it's true.
And in the beginning, I said, "Yeah, of course I remember," even if I didn't.
Yeah.
And after a while, I realized that's the wrong way, really. So, no, remind me. That's the way to answer if you don't
Very good.
Directly understand where we met the first time. But sometimes you do remember and you do connect, and that's really something that people like.
No, you're right.
Yeah, of course. That was in the meeting in Skövde, wasn't it? Yes, they say, and they are so amazed.
Yeah.
He must meet a lot of people, and he remembered. So if you can develop that skill.
But how do you do that?
That was my question. That was going to be my question. Yeah. Was there any
Sorry,
special
Stefan.
technique that you had?
No, not really. I'm good at names and events, not really good at faces, and that's a problem, of course. But after a while, you can also develop the ability to recognize faces as well, I think. And of course, if you're interested in people, you don't just meet them and then leave them. You meet them and listen to them, and if they're interesting, you remember them. So interesting people, you always remember.
Yeah.
And don't say that to all the people I've said, no, I don't have no idea who you are.
Oh, they'd be so sad now.
But of course, it's easier if you have some hang up for your memory.
Yeah.
If something happened or something was said that ordinary isn't happening or isn't said. So, but I don't know if you can train that or if you can learn that.
Well, I think some people have different techniques, don't they? Just
Yeah,
but
either it's more on a visualization of depending on what the person looks like or what they've what their name is as well. They kind of change it to
kind of connect it.
more of an image.
So I can be your sausage dog when you remember me, because your wife said
Or the monkey.
Or the monkey. Yes.
Our dog is called Cinnamon. So I'll call.
Oh, there you go.
I'll call you Anne Cinnamon.
Yeah.
Cinnamon.
And Canel.
Yes.
It's super good. I love that.
I'm curious, as a politician, how do you deal with people that have an issue and you can't sort the issue out?
No, I can't and I mustn't sometimes, because in Sweden it's very clear that politicians should not interfere in the relations between people and authorities.
Really?
That's the authorities.
Okay.
But if the authorities do it wrong, we can change the rules. We can change the laws. That's the politics way of doing it. But not interfering with the case as it is. So when people come to me and say I must have some help,
Yeah,
and you can understand this is wrong. I've been dealt with in the wrong way. I can say, okay, I'll help you to find someone,
right.
a lawyer or an organization or someone who can help you. I can't do it myself. That's the way I can help, to show you the roads, but nothing more than that.
No.
And of course, if it's an interesting principal problem that the person shows, I can also raise it in parliament or in a discussion, in a debate, because this is not only one problem for one person, it's a problem for society or for a lot of people. And in that way, I can raise it as an example, of course, but I can't interfere with the case itself.
What would you say is your greatest achievement in your career?
Oh no, don't remind me.
Don't remind me.
I was never part of government. I was in a party working together with the Social Democratic government and the Greens. So we were a three-party coalition without being in government.
Okay.
We had a majority in parliament. And in that way, we achieved a lot in negotiations with the government or with the Social Democrats and the Greens. But of course, every politician strives to be in government, to be responsible for at least one area of politics. And we never succeeded. And we have never succeeded for all our time in politics since 1917. That's 102 years. We're the only party in Sweden never been in government. So
are you doing something wrong then?
Yeah, must have done.
Is there
must have done something. Wrong.
Self-reflection that needs to be done.
At the same time, some parties think that the only important thing is to be in government, no matter what politics.
So they will.
And in that way, it's important to always ask yourself, why am I in politics? Is it to get a position? Is it to be called minister? Or is it to achieve something?
Yeah.
So, of course, I could not be in government with the politics I don't believe in.
No, very true.
And therefore, okay, I must say it's an achievement not to be in government for 102 years. But
cool.
It's not only a positive achievement, it's also negative because we want to influence society as much as we can.
Yeah, no,
in government you do.
Yeah.
But of course, some things we achieved in negotiations, and that was mostly reforms to make society more equal. And when we did that, we felt very, very satisfied with working in politics. But at the same time, sometimes we took some difficult decisions, which probably led in the wrong direction, as we saw it, to inequality instead of equality, and that was hard. And the alternative maybe was being outside, not negotiating at all. Sometimes you come to a position where you have to say, "Is this better than the alternative?" Even if it's not good enough. And so I've been there as well and taken some decisions I'm not very proud of, but we then thought we had to.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm just curious because I'm half Swedish, so I've seen, I only see Sweden the best time of the year, which is the summertime.
Yes, it sure is.
And I've seen, Sweden change, like in population growth and the different nationalities that Sweden has taken on board. Because when I was a little kid, it was very much, I think it was like Turkish immigrants that were there to start off with. Now, what is the population now of Sweden? Isn't it about 10 million now?
Yeah.
Yes, it's more than 10 million.
Yeah. And how has Sweden changed as a country? Because you are the leaders in taking immigrants on board. You're like a shining light compared to, most countries in the world. Has that affected, the Swedish community, the Swedish politics?
Of course, it has. It was even worse when I grew up. I'm older than you are, and
Just a little bit.
I don't remember. I remember we had a Jewish boy in my class, but I don't remember we had any immigrant kids at all during my first 9 years in school. No one. And today you can't go to a school in Sweden without seeing kids with parents from different nationalities. And I love it. I like it. At the same time, you must not be naive. It causes some problems you must solve as a society. And one of them is growing segregation in society. And that is what I'm working with right now, because I'm working in the segregated areas.
Yeah, but isn't that hard, with segregation? Because people are normally drawn to their own community.
Yes.
So that's where segregation comes.
Yes, but it's not inevitable to be so.
Okay.
For example, you can do things to fight segregation. One is always let people and children from different classes, from different backgrounds, meet in school. When I grew up, I went to a school where two different areas were represented. One was a low-income community, and one was a high-income community. So in my class, there were sons and daughters of architects, doctors, politicians, but also train drivers, nurses, cleaners, everything. And we were together.
Absolutely.
And therefore integration worked, because as a kid you don't mind what your parents do or what your friends' parents do. You are a kid and you like other kids or dislike them sometimes.
Yeah, of course.
But you don't mind what their parents are doing. And therefore we were segregated in a way because the areas were different. But at the same time we passed the borders between these
which everyone should do.
And today I would say that is less so. And one of the reasons is that people choose their school. And when rich people choose school for their kids, they choose a school where rich people's kids go. And they never meet with other kids and never meet with kids from another background. So you have to fight segregation, and you can do it much more successful than we have done it.
That's what I love about this place here in Doha, is that my kids go to an English school, but there's 88 different nationalities.
Fantastic.
And it's superb. They've got friends from all over the world, and it's just brilliant.
With also different backgrounds. I mean,
absolutely.
It's from the more money parents, and I mean, it's
and their prejudices will be quite less than in any
This
other
is
place.
what I feel. That's what every country should have completely mixed, because it starts from the very young. And if they're mixing with all nationalities, then there would be half the problems that we have now. Wow. So we're running out of time.
So we must talk about what you do now.
Yeah, what you do now after politics. Why did you get out of politics, and what are you doing now?
Right now I'm in Doha, seeing the world athletics,
meeting the crazy Anne, and being pulled into a crazy podcast,
and having a real good time. But this is only for a week. And normally I work at an organization called Verdandi. Verdandi was one of the Norns in Swedish mythology. She was watering the eternal tree of Yggdrasil. And they took this name for the organization in 1896. So it's a very old organization.
Wow.
And it's been, from the beginning, it was an organization for abstention, for people not drinking at all. And after a number of years, they said, well, this isn't right, because some people need us, but they are put aside or outside because they are not capable to give the promise not ever to drink again or never to take drugs again. So let's do something about the organization and change it to an organization which still works for abstention, but say everybody is welcome. Everybody can be in our organization, and everybody can be in doing what we are doing together with us. So today it's a social political organization. We call ourselves the Workers' Social Political Organization. That is not quite true, because we are the poor people's social, and that's not only workers, or sometimes not at all workers, because workers in Sweden sometimes earn quite good and have a good life.
Yeah.
But we are the organization for those who don't earn much and who don't have a good living materially, and trying to make their life easier. And at the same time, my work as a secretary for the organization is to influence politics, to try to make them build the welfare society that we want to have.
Yeah.
And how do you think that goes? I mean, how is...
It's going the wrong direction, I would say, for a number of years. In 1980, Sweden was the most equal society in the world. And it has been to that direction from 1920s. So from 1920s up till 1980, it was getting more and more equal every year. But in 1980, that was stopped. And after 1980, we have been divided as a society. And among the OECD countries, we are the one country who has most inequality since 1980 until up to now. That doesn't mean we're more unequal than other countries, but the direction is more unequal in Sweden than in other countries. And that is, that is a sorrow. That is,
but it's alarming.
Yes, we have been proud. We have been trying to build a society where it doesn't count where you come from, what you do, your background, your parents. And now we are going into a society where that is the most important. And some people are living poor lives in Sweden because of less of general welfare and less of solidarity, I would say. And our organization is working for political change, but not only. We are working with people in the society, in their areas where people live who don't have it really good. So we are trying to build up a community of solidarity and an alternative where people with addiction or without addiction, in poorness or not, can come and visit and meet others and be a part of something. Because loneliness is one of the worst things today, especially if you're into addiction and you are left alone. Well, you don't have anything else than the bottle or the drug. So to fight that loneliness among people by just being there, offering a community, a cafe, come in, take a cup. If you don't have any money, take it for free. If you have money, pay just, €1 for a coffee or something like that.
That's good.
And is it just for people to meet up, or do you have actual kind of volunteer counselors that come and help as well?
Yeah, it's, almost every work in our organization is volunteer.
All right.
And of course, we also employ people who couldn't come into the ordinary labor market because we have some support from the state there, so we can offer them kind of a job where they may not perform 100%. But they perform and they do a job. And I met one of this is really a good story, a guy called PR. He has been addicted for 30 years, and you can see in his face.
Oh, really?
I mean,
he's
I would say he's younger than me, but no one would say if they saw us together. He's looking old, and he's been having a tough life. And he had 30 years of addiction. And then he got, he was contacted by a doctor who said, well, if you don't change your life, you will be dead in 2 years. And for 1 more year, he was still taking drugs. But then he met a girl, and she said, you can't live like this, you will die. And he said, okay, what can I do? And he came in contact with Vedandi and said, what can I do? Well, you can be one of us. Maybe you can do some work. And he said, yes, I would like that. And he is now the chief of the organization for taking people's garbage in the area where he lives, because the company for this area says that you can do that, and we can pay you for that, but we won't pay you the same amount of money that we would pay for a private company doing it. You must understand that you're not as good as they are. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, okay. We try to do our best.
Yeah.
And he's the chief now, and he comes to work 7 every morning. He goes home at 4:00 in the afternoon, and he is so proud. And he says, I will always be a Verdandi member.
Wow.
And sometimes he's free from job.
Yeah.
And he went into town one of these times and met his old friends sitting on a bench. And they said, aren't you working? No, I have holiday.
That's great. But is he with the girl? Is the girl with him?
Yes.
Oh,
so it's
there is a happy ending.
It's really happy ending, and P.R. is only one example, but he's one example of the best of Verdandi, and the best when we can really make change in people's lives.
That's amazing.
That's superb.
What a great story.
Right, coming to the end, quick fire questions. Lasse, what is your favorite film?
My favorite
film?
Yeah. As a kid, I saw Ben-Hur.
That is going back. Yeah.
11 times.
Wow.
My friend and I, we went to see not only the film. We couldn't afford seeing the film as many times as we wanted, so we went in the pause. So we gathered with all the people and went into the saloon after everyone else and saw, there's some free places.
Yeah.
So we saw the second part maybe 20 times. But today, of course, there are better films than that.
Ben-Hur is a classic.
It was for a long time.
And if you're 11...
Yeah,
and see a film that is
scenes. It was for a long time the most expensive film made for I think up to the 70s
and got
or 80s.
11 Oscars.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's a good one. Good answer.
Yeah, Charlton Heston.
Favorite book?
Favorite book, I would say something of Ian McKellen. Ian McKellen is a British writer. Yeah. I love him. He has a language that's extraordinary. So I really like it. But I read a lot.
Yeah.
I would say 50 to 60 books a year.
Wow. That's good.
So
and is it
it changes?
Yeah. Depending on
and sometimes it's history or biographies or memories.
Yeah.
But sometimes also novels and short stories and everything. Also lyrics, really. Thomas Tranströmer, a Swedish poet who won the Nobel Prize, is fantastic. You can start every day with a new lyric from
nice.
Thomas Tranströmer, and the day is better. I promise.
Good.
And who do you look up to? Who's been your inspiration in your life?
We had a chairman in the Left Party called C.H. Hermansson. He was the one who changed the Left Party from more of a Soviet communist party or a party supporting Soviet communism in the 50s,
really,
to a modern left socialist party. And not only that, he was as a person very fantastic, interesting. And he died a few years ago, 98 years old.
Wow.
So he's no more in life. But I think of him a lot. And I see him as, someone to look up to.
Superb. Quickly,
we're
running out.
We run. So, what makes you happy? What makes you grateful?
My wife and my dogs and cats.
Yay!
And sometimes my kids.
Good one. That's a good one. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lasse. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for taking time off your holiday to pop into the podcast.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Super.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for watching. Take care, and we'll catch up with you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care of you.